That's a great question because I think the old me would have said, "Oh, when you're in alignment, you're going to feel good." But alignment doesn't always feel good. It can feel like going through your dark night of the soul moment.
Welcome back, beautiful souls, to Aligned and Abundant. I'm your host, Christine, and today I have the absolute pleasure of sitting down with Kelsey Aida, best-selling author, energetic alignment coach, intuitive, and co-host of the top 1% podcast, High Vibing It, with over 550,000 downloads. She helps soul-centered women radically love themselves, align their energy, and manifest the life they know they're meant for without the unnecessary struggle and delay. Her upcoming book, The Manifesting Fix, is going to be released this year in December of 2026, and it reveals why traditional manifestation advice fails and what to do instead. Kelsey, welcome to the show. I am so happy that you're here.
Yeah, thanks, Christine. I'm excited to be here.
It has to be destiny that our paths have come across one another because you have a Substack called Aligned and Abundant. And obviously, this podcast is called Aligned and Abundant. And it's funny because when I was naming this podcast, I did see that this happened to be like a popular combo of words. But I said, you know what? We are each our own individuals, and it's not about the name or the product, but it's about the story and the person behind the story. It's the magnetism of our individual energy. So I would love to get to know you a little bit. I'm sure my audience would love to hear a little bit about your story, about how you developed this desire to spread the knowledge about manifestation and spirituality in general.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. The Aligned and Abundant Club is a fun one. Obviously, I write essays and journals about it like every week on my Substack because I believe that, like, even though it's crazy times and everything's falling apart, yada yada, like, you still have the right to live your best life, to create your heaven on earth. And alignment just makes life so much easier, and I feel like it's everyone's God given right to live a life of abundance, whether that's financial abundance, an abundance of love, an abundance of safety, an abundance of community, whatever it is that you want. I'm here to support you to get it. Anyone who's new to my world, I've been writing books on this for almost 10 years now. The Manifesting Fix that you mentioned, that's coming out later this year, that's now available for pre-sale. So I know I'll link to that in the show notes and all that for people. But it's really my mission to help people align with their goals in a deep, clear, profound way, because we've been told just ask and then receive, like just pray about it and it'll happen. And it's like, yes, and in between the asking and the receiving is the journey to become the person who can have that, is the journey to truly align with that version of your life. So I love alignment. I'm excited about it because my story starts, of course, when I was desperately unaligned. I found myself in a deep suicidal, I mean, to put it not lightly, suicidal depression. And why I got in that in the first place was because I was training my whole life to be a ballerina. I got injured. I couldn't go to college for that. I couldn't go to the auditions to join a company. I was like, what is my life? What is my identity? That's literally the only thing I'm good at. So I spiraled into a depression, and I was stuck there for about 3 years. Towards the end, I had this epiphany of, you know what? I used to be a happy person. I used to be bubbly. I used to like my life. I used to be passionate. I used to have energy. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. God, spirit team, whoever's out there, send help, send resources. Like, I'm willing, I will do it. Like, whatever you send, I'll do it. So, of course, in the spirit of asking and receiving, I started working with a great shaman. I started working with a therapist. I was reading all the books, listening to all the podcasts, and just absorbing all the spiritual, energetic, just knowledge of energy and quantum physics and just being empowered in your mind, mindset, affirmations, all the tools. And I was able to get better. I was able to get better within about maybe a month, 2 months time, heal from the depression. And on the other side, feel even better than I had felt before. And I was sitting under a tree meditating, like very monk like, one day. And I was like having this realization or this calling that I needed to write about what I had learned and what was working for me. And I just had this desire birth of like, I'm going to be the next Deepak Chopra. I'm going to write 50 million books. I'm going to teach everyone everything that's been working for me. And maybe that's a tasteless example now because Epstein files, so
I
maybe
know,
not
right?
that. But you get the idea. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm going
Absolutely.
to be an author. I'm going to write this. And in my mind, I felt like books are a good way to reach the masses. It's a very affordable way to learn intimate knowledge, and absorb. So that's kind of what started it all. Fast forward 10 years later, we've got the High Vibe in It podcast. I've hosted international self love retreats. I've written a bunch of books. The Manifesting Fix is my favorite one. I'm so excited for it to come out because it's going to help everyone get unstuck. And yeah, I'm just here to like bring the flavor to the manifesting space of we can make this easier, we can make it more practical. Let's focus on alignment and let's release our resistance, and then anything's possible.
It's so funny that you mentioned ask and receive because I think I can go back to when I first became interested in manifesting. And it was, of course, with The Secret. And it kind of made it seem so easy. And I remember being in like a hard situation financially. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, why isn't this working? And I even bought like these little wooden signs that said, ask, believe, receive. And now, years later, I'm like, there's so much more to this. And it also doesn't have to be as complicated as some people make it out to be. Like I've been with plenty of coaches where it's like, write this 10,000 times and really feel into it. And it's like, I don't know if that's going to work. You know what I mean? But it's all trial and
Yeah.
error. Everyone's on their own journey to self discovery. And I really appreciate that you shared a little bit of your story because I can feel the tenderness around that had to have been pretty crushing for you to realize that you were working towards something and then it was taken away from you by no means of your own. And I think that what I'm learning as I'm getting older and talking to more people is when we share our stories, so many people that are in the spiritual world that are sharing their gifts and their knowledge and their insights and coming back to their authentic selves. Like we all have a story, and it's usually like we're at rock bottom, we are depressed, and we know eventually that we are going to be the ones to pick ourselves back up, and then we do, and then it's like this unlock of amazing spiritual gifts and the right connections. And again, like I wrote down that you said a desire birth. I've never heard that, and I love that. So tell me a little bit about, like, bring me to the image where you're sitting under this tree and you have this idea that you want to write a book. Bring me back into that moment because I want to hear a little bit about, like, I feel like so many people, and myself included, I get these downloads and these ideas, but sometimes I don't always act on them. So tell me a little bit about how and why you decided to actually act on this one in particular, and then look at all it's brought you.
Yeah. So in that moment, what I can remember is feeling extreme peace. And then from that peace was like extreme clarity. It was like a light bulb, like, ding, you should write a bunch of books. And I was like, okay, I've never written a book, but whatever. And it's funny because looking back on my life, in first grade and kindergarten, I had the same teacher, Miss Kelly, and she would laminate these books that I would write. So I was writing books even when I was little, but like growing up, I wouldn't say, oh, yeah, I was super excited to study English. I loved school. Like, no, I was not into writing because I wasn't writing about something that mattered to me, right? It's like if you're writing a history essay, like, ew. So I didn't really consider myself a writer, but I was like, I need to be an author. I need to spread the medicine to millions. This seems like a good medium. We're doing it. And like, I'm just someone that when I have an idea that feels super aligned, I will probably act on it pretty quickly. What happened from there was I didn't want no one to read my first book. So I was like, okay, I'm not just going to write a book because I don't have a platform. So let me start blogging. And that's really like the early stages of my Aligned and Abundant Substack column was on my website, kelseyAida.com. And I was writing about anxiety and depression and affirmations and how to do them in an authentic way and what actually works and what doesn't work and what helped me and what didn't help me. And then I built like a little bit of an email list and I had enough courage to like self-publish the first book. So my first book was like this affirmation Bible. And in similar style to the manifesting fix, it was like what they aren't teaching you about affirmations, like why they don't work for you. And the whole premise being like it needs to feel authentic and expansive. Like lying to yourself is not going to be helpful. So instead of, you know, I'm a millionaire, it's like I'm excited to become the first millionaire in my family, or I'm getting better with money every year, or, I'm becoming more financially savvy, or I'm learning how to multiply my money into millions, or, it's like shifting and shaping it and customizing it so that it is true. No one's to say that that's not true, but also it feels expansive and good and not shutting you down and making you feel dumb for lying to yourself or making you feel bad that you're not a millionaire when you're like saying you're a millionaire, but you're not. So that first book kind of sparked my authorhood journey. And from there, I just stayed consistent. Like I've literally been putting out content probably almost every week, the better part of every week for over a decade. So that's how I've slowly built somewhat of a community around these messages that I teach of like, you can live your best life. I encourage you to love yourself through the process. It's a journey of becoming, and let me help you make it easier.
I love the fact that you said, I'm not a millionaire, but I am working on becoming, or like the way that you word it, it has to feel good for your nervous system. It has to be believable for your nervous system. So I feel like the more that people are learning and growing and finding these different modalities and mediums, such as Substack, writing a book, and getting our words out there, the more that we are growing and evolutionizing the path. And I think for me, because I am an English teacher, I was in a former life, right? So I do like writing and reading. I do like reading. And one thing that I love about a book is you can pick it up and put it down when you're in the moment. So I'm the type of person who I will pick it up. And it's so funny. Sometimes I'll have books that have been sitting on my shelf for a while, but it's like you pick it up at the right time when
Yeah.
you're meant to. Like I've had the artist way for like years, and then
Yeah.
just randomly I picked it up and then I started utilizing it. So it's just funny that I think sometimes, well, you have to trust in divine timing, right? So I think the perfect time is the time that you actually pick it up or the time that you actually write the book, say the thing, get it out there. And I love that you were originally self-published and now you are supported, right?
The last four books after the self-published book have been published with big publishers. Yeah.
That's amazing. So when did you start your podcast? Tell me a little bit about your podcast. So you wrote your book and then when did the podcast come into play?
Yeah, so the podcast was kind of on my manifestation to-do list of like things I wanted to have or create one day, but it didn't happen until a friend of mine had the opportunity to have a show on an online radio network. Actually started as a live show, but she's shy. She's like a hermit. She was like, "Oh, it sounds like my worst nightmare. I don't want to have my own show." She's a hypnotherapist. And so she called me up and she was like, "Well, the only way I'm going to do this is if you want to be my co host." And I was like, "Girl, it's my podcast I've been manifesting." So it kind of just landed that way. And for a while, we did it with the network. It was expensive for us to have them produce it. So then eventually we just started producing it ourselves. And that's been going for, I think, we're almost at 300 episodes.
Amazing.
So almost every week, there was like a year where we did every other week because it was just not sustainable to put
Yeah,
out that much
I get
content. But
it.
yeah, podcasting, I love it. As you know, it's fun. You get to meet people. It's super intimate. You can be like in people's earbuds when they're cleaning the bathroom or on their way to work or on a walk with their dog. Or I just think it's such a cool platform. So also spreading the medicine that way, of course.
100%. And I think that some of my best car rides are when I have a really good podcast in my ear along the way. And it's almost like you develop a friendship, like you develop a knowing of the person that's on the other side. You hear everything that they're saying and you hear their trials and their becomings and you see the growth. And so that's also really cool to witness. Like you have like this intimate conversation without having the conversation. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's really beautiful. And then also like if you're having a crappy day and you are able to hear, as you call the medicine, like it just reignites like that spark within you. and kind of makes you feel better. Like that was my story
Yeah.
in my
And I
case.
feel like sometimes when you're listening to a podcast, someone can just say that one right phrase or word, something that you already know in a different way, and it clicks and unlocks in your brain and your nervous system in a way that it never has before. And then you can actually integrate it. And it's just from
100%.
hearing the words, and then you're forever different.
Yes, yes. It's almost like you can't go back. Your
Yeah.
consciousness changes, your identity shifts, and then you're this new person and this new avenue of thoughts and connections. So tell me a little bit about your manifestation stories or techniques. Like, I'd love to hear how, maybe like a little preview into your book, The Manifesting Fix, and what have you come to realize or figure out, like any little insider scoops that you want to share with the audience while they can go and pre-order your book.
Yeah. So the biggest thing I've realized, which is basically the thesis of the book, over all my years of working with people, having my own manifestations, trial and error, is that there's really only one thing standing between you and everything you want, and that is some form of personal resistance. So this could look like you're resisting your present moment, which is why you're trying to frantically manifest a whole new life, or you're resisting your emotions and that's keeping your emotional body stuck and now you're not open to receive, or you're resisting more money even though you say you want more money because you're like, oh, rich people are bad, I don't want to be bad, so I don't want to be rich, right? So all this stuff is happening usually subconsciously or in your body, your emotional body, your astral body. Like, things can get a little stuck, a little blocked, a little bit like conflicting interests. So, for example, if you want to manifest more love, but a part of you, an aspect is still super unwell from the last situationship, you're like, okay, we're not doing that. So, consciously, you're like, of course I want love, I'm ready for my soulmate, like, where are you, show up. But then subconsciously there's different aspects of you that are like, hell nah, we don't want love again, that was a train wreck. So it's like this push pull energy inside of you is causing you to not broadcast a clear signal to your life and the universe of what you actually want, but B, it's stopping you from moving towards the goal and co-creating it because there's usually just fear or stuck point or blockage there. So, as a Reiki practitioner, you know a lot about blockages and when energy is not moving the right way. So, that's one form, right? But then there's just so many different ways it shows up, which is why now in the manifesting fix, I'm explaining to everyone, look, if you can find your resistance and you can work through it, on the other side of that, you actually come into alignment with your goals, and then they can manifest more easily, and then they can manifest quickly, and then they can manifest more effortlessly. But we've been sold the more sexy, oversimplified version of all you have to do is ask and then you'll receive. And it's like, my version of manifesting is ask, align, then receive. And in order to align with your goals, we usually need to find and troubleshoot the resistance. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense. And as you were saying that, I'm like, okay, this is the next secret, and you should write a book, but you did. And so I cannot
I
wait
already did, girl.
for it to get into my hands because this is exactly what we need. And by we, I
Yeah.
mean the conscious collective. And I know you know that. And
Yeah,
I
this
just
is the
think,
next level basically
oh,
because we
yeah.
already like dipped our toes in
Mhm.
conscious creation. We like the idea of it. It's sometimes working, it's sometimes not working. So now it's like manifesting 2.0. Okay, we need to learn about resistance and alignment. That's the next phase, and then everything will be easier.
What advice would you give to the listener who doesn't realize that they're stuck? I
I
think
feel
that
like a lot of people realize that they're stuck because they're frustrated that they're stuck.
I was gonna
If
say,
someone doesn't realize that they're stuck, then I feel happy for them because they're just like in their happy little non-frustrated bubble.
right. I think that some of the things I'm learning about my own human design. So it's funny that you brought up frustration because my signal is frustration. So if I'm
Mm,
frustrated with a situation or a person or a relationship, like I know that it's not in alignment.
yeah. Your
And
design, by the way.
I'm a generator.
Okay, I'm a manifesting generator. So I think mine's the same. I think it's
Yeah. Well, I'm
frustration
a
is like
three
not
five. How
out of
about
alignment.
yourself? Do you remember?
5-1.
Okay.
So we both got that five
You got that
line.
five. I just feel like sometimes, and that's great, like you just said, if someone is not even recognizing that there are limiting beliefs or subconscious thoughts or programs running in the background, like that's fine. I don't think that everyone is here to evolve at the same rate or the same level. So I do love personally when I connect with souls like you who are on like the same wavelength. It's almost like a lighthouse where the light goes out and it's like whoever is in alignment, come on board.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a little bit of like, what for you tells you that you are living in alignment, and how can we make this easier for listeners to understand? Like, if I were to just broadly say, hey, Kelsey, what is alignment? What does that mean to you? Because I have no clue. I don't understand it.
Yeah, that's a great question because I think the old me would have said, oh, when you're in alignment, you're going to feel good. But alignment doesn't always feel good. It can feel like going through your dark night of the soul moment. It can feel like doing the hard thing, having the hard conversation, breaking up with the toxic person. Like, it's not always easy. And I think that's another thing that's been oversimplified in the spiritual community is that aligned is easy or aligned is positive all the time. And for me, alignment just means like you're facing towards your goals and you're like on the path, which from that definition, you can't really not be in alignment. But from a more psychological perspective, I like to look at it as a spectrum of like resistance on one side, alignment on the other. The more resistance you have in any given moment, the less aligned you are to that desire in that moment, right? But the more you can get rid of that resistance, untangle it, work through it, you naturally come into a state of more harmony, more alignment with your goals. So, to demonstrate that with an example, like being in alignment with my writing and publishing this book looked like showing up to write it, pitching it to agents, pitching it to publishers, not taking rejection personally, showing up on social media, like doing the stuff. And then when I had those limiting beliefs come up of like, will this sell? Is the writing good enough? Are people going to get it? Is this going to work? I would have to talk myself off the cliff and be like, yes, there's a reason why this book took 10 years to come to fruition. Like the people weren't ready, but now they are, like I had to tell myself like the truth and come back to that in order to like recalibrate towards the goal. So for me, it's kind of like a spectrum of resistance alignment. From a zoomed out perspective, I don't think you can ever not be aligned with your highest timeline or your best goal because the detours just give you more character and bring you back usually in a stronger way to the path. But on a more zoomed in level, yes, we can get stuck in resistance. We can get a little blocked. And it's important to see where that is. And then we can feel aligned again. To go back to your other question for people who don't know, like if they're blocked, one of my favorite questions to ask to find a piece of resistance inside of you is to look at the thing that you want. So let's say you want your dream house or a raise or the beautiful relationship or more friends or move across the country or whatever it is. Think of your goal and then ask yourself, is there any part of me that's not on board with what I think I want? And then you just shut up and you listen and you journal if you like journaling and you write down all the objections that come up and then you be like, oh, there's my resistance that's been hiding in the shadows. And then you can actually do something about it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what do you do? So you recognize, and then you're surprised. You're like, oh, dang, I have a whole page here
Yeah.
of resistance. What do you recommend to work through those things?
Yeah. So I like to take each piece of resistance one by one and first start by questioning. Usually they're like beliefs, narratives, or stories, right? So I like to question it and be like, is this even mine?
Yep.
First of all, because a lot of it's programming or bestowed to us from our parents or teachers or
Yeah.
caregivers or sisters or whoever. So if it's not yours, you can be like, okay, that's not mine. I don't choose to hold that anymore. I like to cross it off or burn it or throw it away, whatever. Symbolic of like you bring it to attention and you realize you don't want to carry it and you can let it go. That's best case scenario, obviously.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not always that simple, which is why I had to write the manifesting fix because different kinds of resistance require different kinds of antidotes. So, for example, if you have like a worthiness wound and your resistance is, well, who am I to ask for all this money? Or I don't feel worthy of the relationship. Like, then you need to get on the self love train. There's a whole protocol for that, right? Or if you are, let's say, resisting money, like there's a whole process I have for working through some of those limiting beliefs and questioning them and rewriting them and making them better and more empowered. Or, if your blockage is like an impatience thing and you're judging yourself or you're judging your life, like time to practice some more trust. Let's explain why things take time. It's not bad for things to take time, right? So that's really what prompted the book, because there's not like a one exercise fits all to get rid of all types of resistance. It's like based on the resistance that you find, here's the protocol that you can do to get rid of it, untangle it, transmute it into alignment.
That makes so much sense. And I recognize that it is going to take work, right? I think that's what life
Yeah.
is all about, is when we recognize these subconscious patterns, and like you said, that are just sometimes gifted to us, right? Handed down to us from our parents or our environment, then we need to take that awareness and we need to do something with it. And I do believe that with action comes clarity, even if it's messy action, even if it is laying it all out on paper. Like you mentioned, I literally was just talking to my friend this morning about that, like that I have some like feelings and it's towards, a particular person, and I'm
Yeah.
just going to write them all out, and then I'm going to just energetically let it go by releasing it to fire. And I just think that when we sit and get quiet with ourselves, we can get the answers. We can uncover the limiting beliefs that are holding us back. And that's the thing, though. What I'm discovering is the more that you peel back that onion, there's more. It's like there's always
Yeah.
more, right? This life is going to be so filled and fulfilling, right? We can rise from the ashes and become that phoenix rising, but first we have to get down and dirty. You have to figure out the why behind the choices that we make, the reasons why we're holding ourselves back. So it's what I people refer to as doing the work. I used to be like, what is doing the work? Like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
And now I get it. You know what I mean? But you have to live through it. And I love that you just mentioned that this book for you was 10 years in the making, and that, we always talk about divine timing, but at the end of the day, everyone wants and I could speak for myself, but everyone wants everything to happen like tomorrow, like yesterday, like it should have
Yeah.
already happened. So it's about also like recognizing that these things do take time. And I love how you framed it as like they weren't ready yet. Like the consciousness wasn't ready yet, because
Yeah.
that
Well,
frames
and like
it.
I wasn't ready yet because my writing wasn't as good. And I feel like because this book is going to be bigger, I've always had like this intuition around it that's going to kind of like maybe be, I don't know, the breakout book or whatever. So with this book, I got the idea for it literally a decade ago when I was on vacation, where I get all my best ideas.
Right.
And I was writing a blog post that was getting so long. And I was like, wow, each of these bullet points could easily be a chapter in a book. This should really be a book. Someone should write a book about this. Oh, wait, I should write the book about
Oh
this.
my God.
And I think it took 10 years because I was working on it on and off, but I had to become the person who could channel the knowledge. I had to work with enough people to troubleshoot their stuff. I had to like have time to feel into what the people want to know about manifestation and channel the answers for them. And manifestation 10 years ago wasn't as mainstream as it is now. So people hadn't tried it and been frustrated with it yet. They were like just
Yeah.
excited about it. But now people have tried it, had some success, some not so much. And now they're like, okay, I need to go deeper. And so I feel like it's perfect timing now. I'm like, okay, the people are ready. The book is ready. My writing's ready. The information is ready, and hopefully it's just going to help millions of people to align with their goals and stop getting stuck and frustrated.
Yes, and so it is. It will.
Hmm.
And I love that you had to go through all of that, because in my mind, I'm thinking that's embodiment. You had to live it, to feel
Yeah.
it. And now you can speak so eloquently about it. It just flows right out of you. Like you said, channeling, it just comes right out of you so naturally and innately. And that's
And you know
beautiful.
what's funny too about the book? When you set out on a mission to write a book about manifestation troubleshooting, do you know what happens to your life? A
Okay.
lot of manifestation troubleshooting opportunities. Okay. Speaking of walking the walk and being initiated. So everything I teach in the book is from a place of I've been there. I'm not preaching. I'm probably oversharing about my own life, my trials and errors. But yeah, I wanted it to be like super relatable and funny. Like it's not a heavy book, even though some of the material could be like work, like how you
Right.
said. I think personally that yes, doing the shadow work and the healing work is work and it can be hard. But I think what's harder is to live a life where you're efforting so much because you're not actually in alignment with your goals and they can't happen. So you're working 10 times as hard. But if you do this little bit of work first, get into your alignment with your goals, then it's 10 times easier to actually make it happen. So it's like, which hard would you rather have? A short term healing hard or a long term hard of efforting your way to the top and probably not even getting there?
I couldn't say it better. And speaking of, that actually makes me think about quantum leaping or quantum, jumping, as they say. I
Yeah.
think that when we speed up our healing, then it allows for more opportunities, more aligned and divine opportunities to come our way. And so that's pretty fun. Have you ever had any experiences with that? Or do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, my thoughts and experiences. First, I'll start with my thoughts. I like the concept of it, but sometimes it gets so like I feel like we shame ourselves if we're not having quantum leaps. So I want to like walk that delicate line of like just because it's happening slow and steady doesn't mean it's not a quantum leap, you know. But then it's like they do get bigger and easier. Let's say an easy example is like money. So your first phase of money might be like learning how to ask for the raise and acquiring more skills so you can make more income. But then like stage 2 is learning how to like put that money to work and multiply it. And then like a few years down the line, all that work is compounding. You've put a bunch of your money in the stock market and you might have a huge year and it, 3x's or whatever. Bitcoin hits 12 million or who knows, right? So it's like they are quantum leaps, but I feel like there's all this prep work in the making that sometimes gets disqualified. Like someone could look at this book and be like, oh, quantum leaps, she wrote this big book. And it's like, yeah, but I've been doing it for a
Yes.
while.
Yes.
So there's that. But then it's like a quantum leap to me could even be you used to always be in toxic relationships and for the first time you chose a healthy one and you chose yourself and you didn't self-abandon. So yeah, I'm for any leaps, however slow or fast they happen, because I just want people to live their best life.
100%. I think you nailed it. I think that there are so many people out there that, you know what it is? There's so much information, and any one person can take it and go any which way with it. But
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, we have to live our life and work through our own uncovering, our own journey, our own everything. I think everyone is here for a reason and a purpose. And it's just a matter of, are you willing to go to that inner knowledge within yourself to reconnect to your soul knowledge, to the I am that exists within all of us, and play with that. And then I love that you just make me feel like you're giving permission to be okay with like the timeline. Not everyone
Yeah.
has to rush everything. And I love that you hit upon that.
Yeah, because if you look at nature, like a plant would have a quantum leap when it transitions from like a seed to a plant, right? So it's like a seed for a while and then all of a sudden it's a plant, but then it's going to have to grow for a long time before it turns into like a tree. And
Yes.
then it's going to have to go through winters and summers and seasons. And it's like we forget that we're a part of nature. So, like, yeah, you're going to have seasons where things are faster or slower, or where you're better, or where you're less energized, or whatever. And that's cool. I'm all about like, if you want to be a true spiritual being, you can't deny the fact that you chose here now to be a human and have a human experience. So if you're denying your human nature, then to me, that's actually not very spiritual because, hello, your spirit chose to be in a human body to have a human life. So, are there rules to being a human? Yeah. Are there limitations to it? Of course. But is there also magic, miracles, and alignment? Yeah.
Yes, that should be a bumper sticker.
Bumper sticker.
And speaking of, you know what it reminds me of? I moved into this house about 6 years ago. maybe 7 now. And the funny thing is, there are bamboo that grows. And I don't know if you're familiar with bamboo at all, but what I
Used to.
learned was bamboo
Yeah.
grows its root system underground in secret for 6 years. And then all of a sudden, you have 20-foot bamboo in your backyard that are an invasive species here in New Jersey. And you're like, wow, what am I going to do with that? Because they are so strong and
Yeah.
resilient.
Yeah.
And
I'm
so,
gonna start
yeah,
harvesting, girl.
take the time, be the bamboo, take the time to learn and grow and do the work, but have fun with it along the way also. Like, don't be down and hard on yourself because it is a journey, like the good and the bad. And then you'll just sprout out, right? And then when you get that sprout, there's always going to be, like you said, those dark seasons of the soul or those moments or that unexpected obstacle. But all of these things I think make us stronger. And I just like the visualization also of going back to like the journey of like, are you feeling into the resistance? Are you letting the resistance pull you? But always keeping your eye on the prize, always moving forward, always getting clear on what you want. And if you aren't clear on what you want, it's taking that aligned, messy action because you can do all the thinking you want from a parked car. But until you actually put that car in drive, you're going to stay stuck. So you have
Yeah.
to take some action, and we all have the capability.
Great analogy. I love a good analogy.
I know,
Well,
right?
you are an English teacher, so
That's true. That's
makes
true.
sense.
So you have me thinking, I want to know what's the sneakiest way you see women blocking their own abundance without realizing it's a self-worth issue underneath? And I can speak a
Mm,
little bit for that for myself because I am working through current money block issues. Like I had a fear of being successful, so I would like self-sabotage. Like most people
yeah.
get afraid of failure, but I'm afraid of success because I'm like, "Oh, what am I going to do with all of this money?" And like you mentioned it a little bit before also with like that limiting belief or that subconscious belief of like people who have money are evil or they do bad things. So I'm rewiring my brain to work through those things. But then I also came to maybe there is a self-worth issue underneath there also. So I've been working on personally visibility and safe to be seen. Tell me your thoughts on all of that. I just threw a whole bunch at you,
Oh
but
my
I
gosh,
know you can handle
yes.
it.
So I've struggled with the same because especially with this book, like I was saying, like I've had this intuitive ping that's going to be bigger. Because with my other books, I didn't really have huge expectation. I was like, let me write them. Some people will read them, whatever. With this one, I'm like, well, what if 3 million people read about my health journey that I like overshare about in the book? Or like, what if, this is going to bring more visibility and I have to do more interviews or like what if best case scenario I become like JK Rowling super famous and then people want to follow me around with paparazzi. Like paparazzi sounds like my worst nightmare. Not that
Right?
authors really have paparazzi, but
I know. Hey, you
silly, thought,
could.
silly thoughts like that would like come in. And for me I have to be like, girl, the destiny is the destiny, and at any level of winning or success, there's going to be contrast. So for me to have less fear, I choose my contrast consciously. So I'm like, okay, if we do get there and that's a situation, then we can handle that. Bodyguards exist for a reason. Privacy hedges exist for a reason. You don't have to be everywhere all
You're
at
so
once. It's
funny,
okay.
Kelsey.
So it's like, just reassuring the part of you that's scared or spiraling or crashing out over the idea of actually getting what you want,
Yes.
because that can help you like dissolve a lot of resistance in the moment. But yeah, I think you said it when you were sharing your example of self-sabotage. I feel like we sneakily, especially as women, we just are like, oh, I'm too busy, or I have to be a mom, and I have to be this, and I have to be that, and I have to be that. And we kind of like give ourselves to everyone and everything except our goal.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you can still be an amazing mother, daughter, sister, friend, wife, everything that we are, because we're so amazing and we're like literally everything to everyone. We make the world go round. And you can make time for yourself and the things that matter to you and your needs and your boundaries and your preferences and your dreams. And I think it just has been sucked out of us from culture, from religion, from society, that to have dreams and desires is inherently selfish, especially for women. And so it's like getting over that selfish narrative and then owning your desires from there and weaving it into your life in a way that works for you, I think is the way to go.
Oh, so good. So good. And I love that you touched upon self-love. What are some things that you do for self-love for yourself?
Yeah. So my self-love can be shown to myself through my calendar. So if you look at my calendar, you can see like how I map out my weeks and my days to be very in alignment with how I work, how I flow, how my energy is. And it's more than just self-care. It's like setting yourself up for success mentally, physically, emotionally, on the calendar, like in every area of life. And my definition of self-love is to take yourself in as a part of yourself and to just take positive ownership of your well-being. So a lot of people think, "Oh, in order to love myself, I have to like everything about myself." That sounds impossible. Yeah, it probably is. Okay, I don't like everything about myself. No, I've never met any single human on earth who likes every single
Right.
thing about themselves. Okay,
Uh-huh.
whether it's looks, personality, like no, that's just not a self-loving expectation. So instead, I say, okay, how can we nourish ourselves every day?
Yeah.
How can we come back to ourselves often? How can we make ourselves just as important as the people that we love in our lives? Not more important, not better. It's not like, oh, I love myself now and nobody else matters. Like, F them. No, it's you are putting yourself in that pile of people you love versus excluding yourself, which is what most women do.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I think self-love is so important because so many people, like you just said, put all of their other responsibilities before themselves. And you know the expression of like you can't save someone without saving yourself. Like, for example, if an airplane is going down, they always advise
Yeah.
you to put the oxygen on yourself first. Why? Because we can't give from an empty cup. And eventually that catches up with us, whether it's burnout, chronic illness, you develop an autoimmune disease. I feel like these are all things that can happen as a result of ignoring yourself, your needs, and loving yourself. I was just recently talking about this on one of my podcast episodes. I don't know if you've ever heard of like the rice experiment. So you take white rice and you put it in two different containers with some water. And in one, towards one, you speak nothing but like loving, kind words, right? And then towards the other, you talk very like negatively, like you're ugly, I don't like you. And you will literally see that our words, the energy that we're putting behind the words will change, will affect the rice. So the rice that you speak lovely to will stay fine. But the rice that you talk nastily to will actually like the water will turn brown and it will get like mucky looking. And so that's just such a great like scientific visualization of how
Yeah.
talking to ourselves and how we like get in our heads also with how we talk to ourselves. Like I love when people like do mirror exercises or mirror practice or like get again just get the coffee you want, right? Like give yourself permission to do the things that light you up, that make you feel good, and don't nitpick yourself. Like just enjoy who you are, the body you've been put in, and you can always work on things, you can change things, right? But just love and accept who you are, because I do think that we are all here for a reason and a purpose, and we're probably in these bodies for a reason and a purpose.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And that brings me to a point of like, for people who are like, well, yeah, it sounds nice to like love and accept myself, but how? I would say the vehicle is curiosity, which will lead you to understanding. So if you can become more curious about yourself, like, I wonder why I have this big nose that all my ancestors have. Oh, it's because we're from this region where you had to have a big nose so you could breathe and survive, right? It's like, then you can come to understand and appreciate. For example, I used to struggle so much with anxiety. And I hated that I was so anxious. And I hated my anxious part. And I'd be like, why are you always ruining my life? Right. But then one day, and I teach this process in my book, The Manifesting Fix, I just had a little conversation with her. And I was like, girl, why are we being anxious all the time? Like, what are we doing here? And she was like, well, I'm the part of you that worries in your mind so you don't have to worry in real life. Like, I anticipate threats, and what I want for you is to be relaxed because I got this because I'm worrying on your behalf. And I was like, okay, that's very interesting self-appointed job you gave yourself. Also, I kind of love that you're so loyal to me and that you care about me so much. Like, do I love your approach? No. Do I understand now why you're doing it and where you're coming from? Yeah. So now I can love my anxiety. I've integrated her as a part of myself. I don't banish her, I don't yell at her. And when she comes into my head acting all crazy, as she still does from time to time, I'll just be like, anxiety, thank you so much for caring about me. You're my most loyal friend. Even though you're a little crazy, even
Yeah.
though you're a little bit annoying, like I still love you. In the same way that you can love your annoying siblings or your kids when they're being annoying or your pet when it's being annoying, like you don't have to like everything about yourself in order to love. Back to that message. So basically, I just want to leave the people with like, you deserve the love that you so freely give to everyone else. And it's only going to make your life better. And it's only going to make you better at loving other people. Because I think people think if I love myself more, I'll become a narcissist. It'll take away love from other people. No, you fill your cup and you're so nourished and so vibrant and so aligned that you bless everybody on the planet, literally. And the rice experiment, I mean, just goes to show like your body is the same. We're 80% water or more, and water is extremely impressionable from your thoughts, from your intentions. So, knowing that, speak blessings unto your body and see what happens.
Exactly. 100%. I think that is so important that people retrain ourselves to talk kindly to ourselves because I also think that more or less it's women, right? Women are
Yeah,
so hard on themselves. Like I never hear like guys are like, "Oh, my hair looks like crap today." You know what I mean? Or
right.
they're just like they just go on with themselves and that's fine. But as a society, I feel like women, we put so much pressure on ourselves. And you're right. Like the more that we love ourselves, the more that it helps everybody because positivity spreads positivity and that good energy. It's all about energy. Everything is energy. And we know that. And the more people that become aware of that, the bigger the difference it will make as we continue to grow and evolve as like a society, as a collective, as I think, again, like I keep going back to like this is an era where people are rising in enlightenment, in awareness, in being brave enough to share, like we're doing, like the insights and the downloads and the journey of going from having a thought and a desire and a belief to making it happen and seeing where it's going to lead you and being excited. I'm so excited for you because I am feeling the energy from you of like, this is going to be big for you. This is going to be an unlock. And like, being okay with that, right? So you have a little bit of a runway to get your nervous system if anxiety is showing up and saying, "Hey, I'm here." And you're like,
Yeah.
"No, no, no. Go sit down, take a seat. I love you. I bless you, but not today."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all in divine timing and it's going to work out amazingly and perfect. And I do really love, I want to share like I went to an event recently. I went to see Mel Robbins and I walked out with my husband and I was like, I can see myself on stage. Like I can see myself doing that. And I said, but the part that I wouldn't like is like where would the lines of like privacy and do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm like, some
Yeah.
people like they become this big deal and it's like sometimes you just want to be like yourself. Like you want to just
Yeah.
drink coffee at
And
Starbucks without
alone.
being bothered. And now I get it. Like now it's like, okay, I can see why like people might resist, right? There's that resistance because you don't always want to be on. Like we need to recharge, especially like people that tap in and are intuitive and have these gifts. Like we need to recharge. Like, and sometimes people are too peoply and we need a break, you know? But
Mhm.
that's the beauty and the blessing of having gifts and having a message and having desires to share with the world and be open and beautiful and delicate and put it all out there. It's very vulnerable, but it's also so admirable. So I love that
Yeah.
you're willing to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely vulnerable. And with this book, The Manifesting Fix, like it's the first book that I've written where I share personal stories because the other books were more like guidebooks, more informational. And this one is a totally different tone, totally like girlfriend to girlfriend over coffee. Like, let me tell you what worked. Let me tell you what didn't work. Let me tell you why. And so I'm like, dang, like people are going to know about my life. That's kind of crazy. But for me, when I get freaked out about it, I'm like, it's for the mission. And not to be like a martyr for the mission, but it's like a get over yourself, Kelsey. If you want to spread the medicine, like this is how we're spreading the
Yeah,
medicine.
ego aside,
So
right? Yeah.
yeah, and like people who are, scared to start that business or scared to do that podcast, like remember that everything that you want to manifest is a co-creation. So for me, this book is not just my desire, it's the desire of everyone who's going to read it and benefit from it for it to exist. Right? And that
So,
coffee shop
yeah.
that you want to start, like the whole work from home community in your neighborhood is like, oh, we wish we had a cool, vibey place to get out of our house and work from. Or the restaurant you want to open. Or, if you want to be a doctor, there's patients who want to be your patient. So it's like, it's always a two-sided thing. And what I like to tell people as a little reframe is like, people think it's selfish to go for your desires. I think it's selfish to withhold your desires from the world
Yes, I can,
because then you're not bringing forth your gifts and your talents and things that other people can benefit from.
I can
So,
definitely echo off of that message because someone once recently said to me, like, why are you holding your gifts back from the people that are waiting for them?
yeah,
And I was like,
exactly.
oof, you're right. This is more than me. This is more than about me.
Yeah, and even if you're like, I want generational wealth, like, don't you think the generations after you want you to figure that out?
Yes,
Yeah, they
exactly.
do.
I'm telling you so many things that you're saying. I'm making like these connections in my brain. Like I literally just thought that before we got on call. I'm like, this is not about me. I'm like, this is about
No, it's so much bigger.
my past ancestors and my future generations. I'm like, I am on a mission right now to clear
Yeah.
XYZ or to do XYZ. And it's not just about me. Like I raised my hand and I'm like, all right, me, I'll do it. And now I'm like here doing it. I'm like, dang, what did I sign up for? You know?
Yes,
But
yes,
this is just
definitely.
confirmation that we are on the right track because again, here we are aligned and abundant times two, right? And I
Of
am
course.
definitely going to recommend everyone follow you on Substack, pre-order your book, get on socials, follow you on Instagram. So remind my listeners all the deets. Where can we find you? Where can we have these like fun, casual interactions with you? Just like the two girlfriends that we are right now. And I love everything about your energy and your vibe. And I'm so glad that we met. So it's just such a beautiful thing. So tell the listeners where we can find you.
Yeah, so people can find me on kelseyAida.com, the High Vibin' It podcast, of course. It's High Vibin' with no G because we're too cool for G. So
Yeah.
High Vibin' It, three words. And the Manifesting Fix, like you said, is available for pre-sale. So definitely order that. I'm coming out really soon with some pre-order bonuses. So you can forward me your receipt and then you'll get sent like all these cool bonuses. I'll keep you busy until the book comes. If you just search the Manifesting Fix online, Kelsey Aida, you'll see all the links where you can purchase it from everywhere. My Substack, of course, I'm sure you'll give them the link to that. But if you search Kelsey Aida on Substack, you can find me there. And yeah, Instagram, TikTok, I'm just Kelsey Aida everywhere, here to help you manifest your best life and love yourself through the process. So I would just encourage people to use me as a resource because I've put out so much good content over the years. So yeah.
I love that. And I will absolutely put all of the links in the show notes and you can easily find them right there. And I encourage everybody to follow along on Kelsey's journey because I am so excited to see where this leads you.
Thank you.